Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Probably just gentlemen. Welcome back. So the trade deadline yesterday was absolutely crazy. NBA, I'm talking about. There's nothing quite like it. NBA offseason, NBA trade deadline. It's always full of drama and full of excitement and all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm gonna run through the newest roster update for NBA 2K. It dropped today, and it's got all the trades in it. And I'm just gonna, kind of do like a little off the cuff podcast type of analysis on each team and how they stand right now. This is the official roster that you can get off the share NBA 2K Take Two's roster. I have my own. It just has a couple of created players that aren't in the NBA right now, like the draft and stash guys. I might release it. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to talk about the trade deadline. Do a little bit of non-strictly sports video game stuff and more just sports stuff. So kind of like the mock drafts and stuff that I do. Enough blabbering. Let's get into it. I'll go team by team and talk about what they've done the past couple of weeks, if they've done anything, where they stand, how I think the moves were. So kind of just like a sports show type of thing. If you enjoy this type of stuff, please like and subscribe and comment below what you think about your favorite team and what they did. So alphabetical order. It's kind of nice that we jump right into Philadelphia, who stole the show with my man right here, James Harden in the new Philadelphia jersey. Uh, I like to trade. Um, I don't know. It's tough, Harden, what's going on with this guy? Uh, he doesn't seem to want to be on any team anymore. But maybe he wanted to go to Philadelphia all along. I don't know. He's there now. You got Joel Embiid. You got James Harden. That vaults right to the top of best duos in the NBA. Uh, can he get his body in order? Can he get his motivation in order? This is apparently where he wanted to be in Philadelphia. I'm really excited to see how this duo here goes. You still got Tobias Harris. You still got Tyrese Maxey. You still got Ty Bully. That's the starting five. The bench, not great. They got my man Paul Millsap. I'm a Nuggets fan. He is kind of bouncing around now. Here's Millsap and his new digs. So Philadelphia, yeah, they're seeing if the James Harden thing will work out. Uh, so not a lot of depth on this team right now, but if you got Embiid and you got Harden, you got something. So yeah, Philadelphia. Interested to see how they do. Next, we got Milwaukee. They made a small move. They didn't really need to make much. They got a deep team. So they traded DiFizenzio Dante. I'm sure I butchered his name. I'm sorry. For like at a four-team trade to bring Serge Ibaka, who's kind of a shell of his former self. But you got him. You got Bobby Portis holding down the middle. You still got Giannis who can play some center. All they really need from Ibaka is some block shots and some rebounding, and he can stretch the floor and hit some threes. If Brook Lopez ever comes back, I'm not sure what his situation is. Uh, that's a lot. That's a lot of reinforcements for the playoffs. They're obviously a very veteran-laden team. They didn't really need to make a bunch of moves. They got Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis, and Bobby Portis, who's having a tremendous season. So Philadelphia made a ton of moves. Brooklyn made a ton of moves, but I still think it's Milwaukee and Miami, the two teams that you got to look out for in the East. So yeah, Ibaka was their only move. It's hard to believe he's only 31 years old. Seems like he's been in the NBA for 2 decades, and he's fallen off pretty hard, but he can still do a few things that'll help you out. Chicago, I don't think they made a move really. Let's go down the roster. Yeah, they just need to get healthy. They're still rolling out who are they rolling out at power forward? 6'4", 205 pound Javante Green at power forward. I would have liked to see them make a move, but maybe they think that Patrick Williams will come back soon. I don't know. Obviously, you got DeRozan, you got Levine, and you got Vucevic. That's a really good big three. DeRozan's actually having like an MVP caliber season. They get Ball back. It's a good starting five. I I don't think they're as good as the top four, but hey, we'll see. They felt they didn't really need to make a move at the deadline, and they are going to roll with what they have. Cavaliers, the most surprising team in the league, I think. They completely stole Jared Allen last year. Evan Mobley's a stud. rookie, obviously. Darius Garland he's only 21 years old, and he's now an all-star. So you got that big three, and you add Karis LeVert. Just take a look at him in his Cleveland digs. Got him for not much. I mean, Cleveland's the best they've been without LeBron in decades, probably since like the Mark Price, Craig Elo days. If you're an old man like me and you remember those squads way back in the day. Kevin Love's still around. He's adapted to his bench role quite well. It's just a really deep, well-rounded team. They got Rondo a few weeks ago. I guess we can take a look at Rondo in his Cleveland uniform. Rajon Rondo on his 94th team, still plugging along. Yeah, Cleveland. I mean, all they're missing is playoff experience, really, but their inside-out game, they're deep, they're strong, they're well-coached. They could definitely make some noise. Moving along to the next team, Boston, who has worked their way back into the playoffs and gave up a first-round pick and a couple rotation pieces for Derek White. I don't know what to think about that trade. It just seemed like kind of like making a move for the sake of making a move, I guess. I would have kept my first-round pick, and I would have kept Josh Richardson, and Romeo Langford was playing a little role, but I guess they're not satisfied with their point guard situation. They moved Dennis Schroeder also to get Tice back, who was a long-time Boston Celtic before bouncing around to a couple other teams, and now he's back in Boston. So you got Marcus Smart, you got Derek White, who's obviously a better facilitator, a creator than Smart. I don't know if it moves the needle here or there, but White's got a pretty big contract, and he'll be sticking around with the Jays, Tatum and Brown, for a while in Boston. We'll see if they can make some noise, or if that group has kind of run its course. I mean, it's hard to. It's not. You don't want to say they've run their course when 24 years old and 23 years old, but we'll see. We'll see if Boston can kind of bounce. It's a tough year in the East to make some noise in the playoffs. They got a lot of good teams for once. So they moved out Schroeder. They brought in Derek White. Moved out Josh Richardson. So yeah, moving on to the Clippers, who are without Kawhi Leonard and without Paul George for the season. So they don't have a first-round pick. So hey, might as well try to bring in some guys now and get them some run, and kind of retool next year when Leonard and George are healthy. And Norm Powell was a good addition. They didn't give up anything to get him, really. Here he is, number 24. I think he'll slide in nicely, shooting guard, when the big two come back next year. Can't remember who they gave up. Winslow, Eric Bledsoe. Another first-round pick that they don't ever plan on using. They never use their first-round picks. They often trade them or let them go like a year or two after they draft them. So I think next year you'll see Leonard, Powell, and George as a big three, and who knows how the rest of this roster will shape. Oh yeah, they got Robert Covington, who's kind of nearing the end of a pretty productive run as an NBA player, but he can still knock down some jump shots. Grizzlies, they didn't really need to do much because they're just flying through the NBA right now. They have 3 first-round picks. They could have dangled 1 or 2 of those to upgrade, but I mean, where are they really going to upgrade? You got Morant, you got Jackson, who's the big 2, and you got a lot of good complementary pieces. Desmond Bane, who's just so slept on. He's a really good scorer. You got a lot of depth here. I would have tried to make a move, but sometimes the move is just not there. And you got 3 first-round picks, and you got the offseason to maybe consolidate those and move up, or trade for a veteran or whatever. Grizzlies, I mean, look, Morant's 21, Jackson's 21, Bane's 23. That's your future right there. They should be good for a long time, and their division's definitely winnable. They could run that Southwest for quite a while. Hawks, disappointing, but they're in the play-in. They traded Cam Reddish for a first-round pick, and is it even worth? Kevin Knox was a bust in Atlanta, and he's probably on his way out of the NBA. But here you go, for you 3 Kevin Knox fans out there. Here's Kevin Knox in a Hawks jersey. John Collins was in the trade rumors. Gallinari was. Kevin Herter is in there. They just re-signed Collins to a long deal. I don't know. I don't think it's wise to move him quite so quickly. Maybe in the offseason if they want to kind of reshape the roster a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Heat rolling. They didn't really need to make a move. They got Oladipo, who hasn't played yet this year, on his way back. Caleb Martin, who's just had a fantastic season, and he's still technically a two-way player, so there's no real reason to add another guy to the roster when they can just convert him to a regular contract. And you got guys like Yurt7, who was great early on. You got Gabe Vincent, all these undrafted guys who are just sitting there as bench players that can't really even get in that much right now when the team's healthy. So there was really no need to make a move. The Heat are rolling. They got great chemistry. They're a really good team, and sometimes you don't really need to do anything. So Oladipo, if he can show anything, he's kind of their new addition for the season. Bobby Brown, new addition. Hornets, I like what they did. They got Montrezl Harrell for pretty much nothing. Ish Smith and some fodder. Harrell, former Sixth Man of the Year, might start at center. Probably will back up Plumlee. It doesn't really matter. He gives the Hornets what they were lacking the most, and that's like rebounding and toughness and post defense and things like that. Obviously, they're going to go as far as LaMelo Ball, the 19-year-old all-star LaMelo Ball. Man, he's a good player. And you got Rozier and Bridges and a lot of scorers. Gordon Hayward, if he can bounce back and be healthy. So the front court's lacking, but I like Harrell. They didn't give up really anything to get him, and he should do those things that the Hornets need down low without really needing to be a big-time scorer. Moving on, the Jazz. Jazz struggling terribly right now. Chose not to really make a big-time shakeup. They just needed Gobert to stay healthy. They did get Alexander Walker for not much. He was flipped from Portland. Kind of like, I don't know, he's probably going to be the backup to the backup, which is Jordan Clarkson, just another guy who can score a little bit off the bench. He's not really starter material. He's not very efficient, but they didn't give up much to get him. And my man Juan Hernan-Gomez, who's on his third team of the year, on his way out of the NBA, but they didn't give up anything to get him either, and maybe he can give him a few minutes off the bench. So obviously they need health. Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and Conley, those are the big three, and they were fine with what they had and just chose to make a couple small moves. The Kings, they once again have pivoted their plans and went a completely different direction. I was shocked that they moved Halliburton. I thought he was, a team that cannot draft very well. Famously drafted Bagley over Doncic and a lot of other questionable moves. Halliburton seemed to be that one home run they hit, but they figured they wanted Sabonis, and if you're going to get a player as good as Sabonis, you're going to have to give somebody up. We all thought it would be like De'Aaron Fox, but nope, Halliburton. So Sabonis, their new big man down low, seems to be really happy to be in Sacramento. He's the big addition. There was plenty of other guys. You got DiVincenzo, who, if you remember, they tried to trade for when they were doing that sign and trade thing with Bogdanovic a couple years ago. So they finally got their man, redhead, shooting guard. They also have Jeremy Lamb. Let's take a look. You Jeremy Lamb fans. There's number 26. Solid contributor. Who else did they bring in this year? Oh yeah, they brought in Trey Lyles. They finally moved on from Bagley. Got a couple guys to finish out the year on the roster before they hit the free agent market. Trey Lyles and I think Josh Jackson was the other one. Yeah, Josh Jackson. If you want to see what he looks like as a Sacramento King. And I think they also got, Justin Holiday from the Pacers. So they got a ton of new wing players. They decide now that they want to build around Sabonis and Fox. So if they can somehow strike it big in during the draft, get one of those big three power forwards, maybe they can break that super long playoff drought. But I don't know. Man, you got Sabonis, you got Fox. They chose to stick with Harrison Barnes for a while. We'll see. Doesn't look like a playoff team in the West, but hey, if it's broke, I guess you got to keep trying and trying until you fix it. The Knicks, ugh, traded a first-round pick for Cam Reddish and have proceeded to glue him to the bench because Tom Thibodeau likes to do things like that. There's actually rumblings that they were looking to move him, which would have been crazy considering they gave up a first-round pick for this guy. So I think that was the only move they really made. They could have made some other moves here and there, but nobody really wants these guys. I mean, Randall, look at that contract. Nobody wants that contract. Mitchell Robinson's an upcoming free agent. Kemba Walker, another guy who was benched earlier, and Fournier on a big contract. So you're not really gonna get anything for these guys. So they just brought in Reddish, and we'll see how it goes in New York. Probably not well. Lakers, they were supposed to make a move, right? Because they have so much to offer other teams. Yeah, they didn't do anything. This is like the Horton Tucker's their only guy who's under the age of like 57 years old, but nobody wants him. He's not that great. So, yeah, you're just going to continue to sign every cast up you can and hope it works. It's not going to. Nobody wanted Russell Westbrook, obviously. You're not getting anything for the guy. You're stuck with what you have, Lakers fans. Sorry, but not really. So that big trade you wanted, that nobody. Gone are the days where teams are going to hand the Lakers a Pau Gasol. So who's next? The Magic. I don't think they really did anything. My man Bol, always 2 years away from being 2 years away, right? On his third team of the year, and he won't play all year. He's a restricted free agent, but it makes sense for a team like the Magic. If nobody really wants to pick him up, you re-sign him for a year and see if you have anything with him. Other than that, they're just a super young team who's going to lose a bunch and try to get a Chet Holmgren type to kind of round out the rebuild. Mavericks, ooh, man, what did they do? Now, Kristaps Porzingis injured a lot, overpaid a lot. His body's betraying him. I understand that. If they look to trade him, it makes sense. It makes sense to me that you would trade a guy like that because you're not winning anything with him, and he's just so the fact that they traded Kristaps Porzingis is a surprise, but something that I'm not upset about. What I am upset about is they got a guy on a $35 million contract who's just not that great. Spencer Dinwiddie thinks he's better than he is, complains a lot, very inefficient, and Davis Bertans, 3 years, $49 million, and he is just not good. Basically Duncan Robinson, but even worse. So you're not going to get much for Porzingis, but what you did get was a drain on your salary cap. A couple of contracts that are going to be hard to move. How are you going to sign somebody else? I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. I do know what they were thinking when they traded Porzingis. I don't know what they were thinking when they took these guys back. They also re-signed Finney Smith to a contract. So it's looking like the Luka Doncic show and a bunch of role players in Dallas. I don't know. It seems like for 20 years, Mark Cuban's been trying to sign free agents around his one star, and it has never worked out, but he's still going to try it, I guess. I don't know. Doncic came off a 50-point game, so maybe he's okay with being the one-man show in Dallas. We'll see. Oh, and here come the Nets. I don't know if you've heard, but they traded for Ben Simmons here. There's Ben Simmons in Brooklyn. We'll see how it goes. They did get a couple other good guys. Steph Curry, obviously. Great three-point shooter. Andre Drummond. Great rebounder. That's all you need from him. You just need someone to plug down the middle. So there's their big three. New additions to go along with Durant and part-time Kyrie Irving. Yeah, it'll be fun to see how this mess comes together. Enjoy. Moving on, my Denver Nuggets. Jokic, I think, is MVP again. Obviously, I'm biased, but they're just biding time until Jamal Murray and Michael Porter come back. They don't really have a lot to make big-time moves. They did trade for Bryn Forbes. Everybody wants to see Bryn Forbes in Denver. White and blue, here he is, knocking down some threes. And DeMarcus Cousins, a couple 10-day contracts. Still got that grumpy DeMarcus Cousins face. Look at that. So yeah, Denver they didn't really do much. They made their big move last year with Gordon. They need health more than they need to cycle in more players. What we got next? The Pacers. Yeah, so they're building around Tyrese Halliburton now. Here's their newest stud, number 0 point guard. That's the player they're going to want to build around. They still got Turner and Brogdon injured. Buddy Hield, they decided to keep for now. Quite inefficient scorer, but I think he's kind of guy that change of scenery will really help. And the rest are just Tristan Thompson. They may buy him out. They haven't yet. Guess you need somebody who can play center until you get Miles Turner back. Who else? Oh yeah, Jalen Smith. That was they picked him up from nothing. The Suns, who cannot draft at all, they're the best team in basketball. But imagine if they could draft. Chose not to pick up his option, so he's a free agent after this year, even though he's only in his second year, and he's had some really bright spots for the Suns. I think that was a pretty nice flyer for the Pacers, who have minutes to give Smith. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, I guess Ricky Rubio was technically on the Pacers. Anybody want to see it? He'll never play for the team, obviously, but here's Rubio in a Pacers uniform. We got next. Pelicans, CJ McCollum. A lot of people were like, oh, why are the Pelicans trading for this guy? They should be tanking. But eventually tanking doesn't work, and you got to try to move on. Maybe Williamson will come back one of these days. I don't know. But you got Williamson, you got Jonas, you got Brandon Ingram, you got McCollum, and you got Graham. And, Herb Jones and Jackson Hayes. That's a couple of solid backups. So they're hoping they can get that play in this year, and Zion can come back, and they can compete in probably the worst division in basketball. It's very winnable, other than Memphis. So I think that's their thought process. Eventually, you want to try to win some, and you got guys who are trying to save their jobs, and they didn't give up a ton to get McCollum. The first-round pick is not going to fall in the top 5. They'll keep their pick and a couple of guys who weren't really any good. So, yeah, they also got Larry Nance, who's out for the year, but here he is in his new Pelicans uniform. Pistons, doing what a rebuilding team should do. Took a flyer on Bagley. Maybe he shows something, they could re-sign him. I mean, it makes sense. They didn't give up anything to get him, and he's a former second overall pick. We'll see how he does. Other than that, not much. They didn't really do much. They kept Jeremy Grant. There's no reason to really trade him. He's got 2 years left. They can probably move him for more in the offseason. So, yeah, they didn't really add to anything, and they'll continue to tank and hopefully get another great player with a top 3 pick. Raptors. I don't think they did anything. No, they got the same squad. So they've been winning a lot lately. Didn't feel the need to make a move. Gary Trent is dropping 30, 40 points with ease these days. Siakam's back, so they're pretty healthy. They've won, I don't know, I think they've won like 7 or 8 games in a row, and they're right in the thick of things in the East, and didn't feel the need to shake things up too much. Not every team makes a trade. Rockets. Dennis Schroeder comes in. I think they just traded Tice the other way. Are they going to keep him? I don't know. He's only signed throughout the rest of the year. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But this is still the Kevin Porter, Jalen Green, Sengun show in Houston. They kept Wood, obviously John Wall. They didn't find a taker for him. So losing as usual in Houston. Spurs, I really like what they did. Derek White's a good player, but they have, Vassell. They got Walker. They got Josh Primo. They got a lot of guards that they wanted to get a look at, and they were able to get a first-round pick for Derek White. Plus, they got Josh Richardson, who's on his 34th team in the past 2 years. And they can flip him again if they want to. There's Richardson, number 7. And they also got Romeo Langford, who hasn't really shown much, but maybe he needs a change of scenery. They got a lot of guards. A lot of guards they can take a look at and see how they're doing. And they also got Satoransky, who I don't think will really ever play for them. They traded Thaddeus Young to get another first-round pick, which was a stroke of genius. So they got 3 first-round picks now. That's what rebuilding teams should do, and that's why the Spurs are still one of the better front offices in the NBA. They know how to build assets, and that 3 first-round picks and a All-Star and DeJounte Murray. Yeah, the Suns, they didn't really need to do anything. They're the best team in basketball that nobody ever talks about. They decided to bring back Torrey Craig, who they're familiar with as a defensive stopper. Traded a second-year lottery pick for him, which is kind of insane, but they made the mistake of not picking up his option, and he would have been gone anyway. So brought back Craig, and they also got I think they got Aaron Holiday. There we go. From the Wizards. So Washington traded a first-round pick last year to get Holiday, and then half a year later they flipped him for cash. So that was a first-round pick well spent. Good job, Wizards. Good job as usual. Thunder surprisingly did nothing. You think they would have kept on being like the dumping ground for bad contracts, but they decided to stick with what they have. They already own like half the first round for the next few years. They're below the salary cap floor, which means these guys are going to make some extra cash. I'm sure they're fine with that. Thunder did nothing. Timberwolves, another team that could have tried to get like a stretch 4 type, but I guess there was no one available, so they stick with what they have. Beasley was on the trading block. Okogie's on the trading block. So they're a playoff team right now. Towns and Edwards, that's a really good duo, maybe the best in the NBA that nobody talks about. Trailblazers still have Damian Lillard, but the rest of the team is going to look totally different. Gone was CJ McCollum, gone was Norm Powell, gone was Robert Covington, a couple other guys. Who do they have now? Nobody that they could really build around long term, except for maybe Josh Hart. Underrated, solid player. There he is. Probably step right in, small forward. Interesting enough, his archetype is jack of all trades. I don't think I've seen that for any other player. Eric Bledsoe is still hanging around in the NBA. There he is. If you wanted to see that. Who else did they get? Justice Winslow, another draft bust. Bouncing around now. They salary cap or salary matching filler for the Norm Powell trade. Keon Johnson, who was a first-round pick for the Clippers. I think that's about it. Do we really want to see Elijah Hughes? Yeah, sure. I'm going to show everybody. So there you go. Enjoy. Elijah Hughes. So this team right now is obviously, they're going to convince Lillard to stay. Anthony Simons is definitely a part of the future. Nurkic, they still have. And they got additional draft picks that they got a pick from the Pelicans. So we'll see how it goes. But they're going to try to keep Lillard happy, who, despite Stephen A. Smith and the rest of the media trying to move this guy to other teams, he hasn't said he wants to leave Portland. So we will see how it goes. Warriors, they did not make a move, I don't believe. Nah, they're a deep team. They're still waiting for James Wiseman to come back. They got Kuminga, who's really stepped up his game lately, and they didn't really feel the need to make a move. They're a deep team, veteran laden. They're rolling right now. No reason to shake things up. And the Wizards, look at this. Kristaps Porzingis, which was a super surprising move that came out of nowhere. He's always injured. He's got a terrible contract. I can understand why the Mavericks moved him, but to get what they got back was really puzzling. So the Wizards are now going to build around Porzingis. We'll see what they have with him. He's only got 2 years left on his contract, so it's a pretty worthwhile gamble for a team that just can never seem to get it together. They have a lot of forwards on the team. Ish Smith has a pardon me, I'm not used to talking for 30 minutes straight. Man, how do these podcast guys do it? Ish Smith, starting point guard for the Wizards again. He seems to always find his way into that role. And that's about it. Vernon Carey, Dolphins fan. I remember his father was a good offensive lineman for the Finns back in the day. Kerry Jr. just trade fodder. All right, so that's it, man. I hope you guys liked this. 30 minutes I was talking. Uh, yeah, lots of movement. Pretty cool to see. I'm gonna go ahead and start my franchise year 2. If you guys are interested in seeing that, I'll do some more NBA content. I was waiting for the trade deadline to go along. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if your team got better or worse. Let me know what you think about seeing all these guys and what you think about me doing a little bit different here and there on this channel instead of just the same old, same old. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.